Okay, that's better. Hey guys, welcome back to another dynamic, life-changing, life-altering installment of Tea Time with Ayak. We don't always drink tea, but honey, we spill tea. And today we're spilling tea on something very serious. Now, before we get into this, have you subscribed to my channel yet? I'm looking down because what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my notes, okay, and wait for you to subscribe, okay? I'm looking at my notes, but I'm looking at you too. Okay, subscribe. Thank you. I love you. Bye. So, if you have been on social media, great. If you have not, great too. But if you've been on social media, you've probably seen a story or situation by which Sabrina Elba, that's Idris Elba's wife, stated that she has a virus, the virus that's going to be blocked out because YouTube is actually taking down videos that mention this virus, I think for safety reasons or whatever. She has the same virus that her husband announced that he had a few weeks ago. Now, in an interview with them and Oprah Winfrey, she stated this, and she of course was asked, how did it happen? How you get the disease, madam? And she said that she did not practice social distancing and that Idris Elba did not self-isolate. They were interacting as normal, as if he didn't have the virus. And she didn't necessarily want to be away from him because of her instincts as a wife. She felt that she needed to take care of him. Now, just as a disclaimer, we're open to all opinions here. It's an opinion, it's just an angle, because at the end of the day, people are going to make their own life choices. But from a public health perspective, this kind of behavior is actually a nightmare, and it's a major part of the reason why we're having issues containing this particular virus, right? Because some people don't see it as a big deal. Some people are also intentionally giving it to people. And then we have people who are, carrying love on their head, carrying their husband or their wives on their head as if they're the end-all be-all, as if they're Jesus. Is this madness? Is this true love? I'll get to that at the end of this video. But, we have to break down what went wrong and what went right. But I was talking about it to my mom and, a few other people, and they're like, okay, they didn't really expect this kind of behavior from Idris, in the sense that I don't want to call it a publicity stunt. I don't really know what the word is I'm looking for, but we just didn't expect him to behave the way he's been behaving while dealing with the virus. He's been in people's comments, cussing a few people out, all that stuff. So the way he's been handling it, I don't know. Yeah, I do know. It's weird. So this is what I think. This is where Sabrina went wrong, because they're both at fault. Okay, as far as I'm aware, Sabrina is not a medical professional. So I'm trying to understand where she was taking care of him at, like where that comes in. You don't know what to prescribe him. You don't know anything about dosages. You don't know anything about treating people with the virus. Even if you Googled it, you're not a medical professional. So how she needed to physically be with him, sleep in the same bed with him, and all of those things to take care of him is beyond me, right? I understand, she wants to be there with him, but in situations like this, the highest support that anybody who doesn't have the virus should be giving a person is financial and moral support. FaceTime with them for 24 hours. Don't ever get off of FaceTime. Bring the food to their door or somewhere close to them, right? But interacting with them as normal is extremely dangerous, and I think that's where Sabrina went wrong. You have to look at things from different angles, and the whole wife instinct, how do I say this nicely? There's no nice way to say it. So there are certain values that are taught to female children that are not necessarily taught to male children, are not necessarily instilled in the same way, and I think this has a lot to do with it. Also, she's African, right? So what are African women taught, like African girls? the moment they're born. You need to do this for your husband this, your husband that, your husband this. Even when a child is 2 years old, they're already talking about husbands, right? So I understand there may have been some things she was taught culturally, and probably some things that, you know, were told to her directly before she got married, and things like that made her think that this is the way to handle this. But this is the thing: if you're not alive to take care of the person, then what was the point for that kind of effort? In situations like this, you just have to put yourself first. You have to put aside true love, love others the way you want to be treated, and all those sayings. You have to. In this case, she didn't put herself first, and it shows, and it's highly disappointing. What if she's pregnant? What if she now discovers that she has some other disease or some other illness that may make the recovery process difficult for her? So we have to be realistic here. Not everything is a Titanic movie. Not everything is I love you to the ends of the earth. And also, if you really loved yourself and you love that person, you make the right choices to be around that person for a long time. So that is why I'm faulting Sabrina. She didn't try at all. You know, as Nigerians say, she did not try at all. You know, I understand you want to be there for that person, but in everything, use wisdom, exercise wisdom. She's not a medical professional, so there's only so much she can do, right? Okay. Now, she mentioned in the interview that Idris Elba, her husband, told her, no, don't come close, or whatever the case may be, but she didn't listen to him, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is the thing. There's some ways you can tell people things and convince them. Okay? So, did Idris say, oh, don't stay close to me, go away, no? Or did he say, if you come next to me, if you come to this house, I will lock you out? Like, those are two different approaches, because the second one shows me you're more serious and that you're not playing. The first one shows that you're open to my suggestions, which, you know, is a conversation for another day. Even if someone says they want to take care of you, if they contract this virus and they die, God forbid, or something happens to them, they end up having a lifelong disability, they're not going to be able to take care of you. So it was irresponsibility on both ends. Now, I think I've said what I think, but in cases like these, we have to take self-isolation, we have to take social distancing very seriously. We have been instructed, it's not just the CDC, it's not just World Health Organization, it's not just Western governments. Even in Nigeria, NCDC has said categorically social distancing is a must. If you have it, self-quarantining, self-isolating is a must. There's no disclaimer that says, oh, unless you're married and you have wife instincts or you have husband instincts, stay with them. You might not be able to afford even leaving the house, right? You may not have a second house. You may not be able to afford a hotel. But even in separate rooms, separate areas, not using the same things that they're using. But in Sabrina and Idris's case, it's very unlikely that they don't have another house. So these are the things we have to be careful for, we have to watch out for. Social distancing, it's annoying, especially if you're an extrovert, or especially if you want to be with the person that you love and all of those things, but it's for your own good, okay? And this is the scary thing about these kinds of videos or these kinds of things. Someone may watch Sabrina and Idris's interview and say, oh yeah, regardless of what happens, I'm going to stand by my man, I'm going to stand by my wife, whatever the case may be. And there are ways to stand by people. So I read the comments of that post, and people said things like, oh, this is what in sickness and in health means, or something like that. Okay. If you think standing by someone is contracting the virus and interacting with them normally as if they don't have the virus, okay, fine. But even with that, I'm not buying it. What if they have kids? Are you going to tell the children to stay? Or will you tell them, go to grandma and grandpa's house, me and daddy will stay here, I'll try not to get it? In regards to the controversies, I'm really interested in what you guys think about this topic in general, because I know it's touchy. They made a vow on their wedding day in sickness and in health. How do we define sickness and in health? How do we define standing by someone when they're sick or when they're not sick? All of those things. Are you a part of that small population that says, listen, this virus is not real? It's not a thing. It's not a thing. let me know what you guys think. I had posted a poll on my Instagram, and I asked people, do you think this is madness or if it's true love? A lot of people said it was madness, but funny enough, a lot of people said it was true love. This person is showing, you know, people responded and they said, oh, well, she's showing that she loves him and she'll do anything for him. Okay. All right, guys. Started the conversation. Let's keep it going in the comments. I'm really curious to hear you guys' opinions and you guys' take on this. I've said my own. Sabrina, you didn't try. Idris, you already know I give you 0% on this particular issue. If it's being fine, I give you 95%. I had to take out 5% because you didn't try. But in this situation, I give you 0 out of 100. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, and before I go, please. I know we're in a perilous, okay, let me not say perilous, that was extreme. We're going through a tough time as the human race right now, right? But if you're taking the right steps, the same way that you would avoid the cold or a flu, are the same steps you can take to avoid this particular virus. Wash your hands, let's practice social distancing. Even when you're in public, physical distance, at least 3 feet away from the person next to you. If you're coughing, I know it's just allergies, I get it, but still, cough into this general area, sneeze into this general area. Don't be embarrassed to pull out your wipes and wipe down the surface of everywhere that you are. In this case, it is absolutely not every man for himself or every man or woman for themselves. In this case, we are relying on each other to do the right thing. Please, I can't stress it enough. But also, please, do not panic, do not freak out, do not think it's the end of the world. And even if it is the end of the world, you know, we don't got much of a choice. But on a serious note though, the tide will turn. We're gonna look back on this halfway through this year and be like, wow, that was a crazy time, it was a scary time, but we're gonna feel a lot better about ourselves if we do the right thing. If someone needs encouragement, sometimes they don't need, you know, physical support or whatever. Sometimes they just need encouragement. Sometimes they just need a word that says, hey, everything's gonna be okay. Check in on people that you haven't spoken to in a while that you feel you need to reach out to. Check in on your grandparent or older family members. You know, a lot of them are going through a lot of anxiety because they're like, wow, I might be at risk. They're afraid that they may have it, or they may have, you know, the way that they do things on a regular basis, their routine that they can't do because they're afraid. So this is just a time for us to stick together. This is a time to stay close to God and be prayerful and just do the right thing. All right, guys, I'm looking up to you because I like the angle. I like the way the light hits my face. And also, you know, just trying out some new camera angles. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to see you in the next one very soon. Goodbye.